Welcome to the Christmas edition of our monthly newsletter. My name is John Henry Crosby, president and founder of the Hildebrand Project, and I'm here with my colleagues, Christopher Haley, our director of publications and marketing, and with Catherine Beagle, our academic programs manager. Team, I'm very excited to be here with you today. We're going to do a little necessarily abbreviated review of 2019. There's so much that's gone on this year, but we wanted to share with our friends and benefactors some of the highlights of the year. So Christopher, why don't you kick it off with publications?
Thanks. An exciting year in publications. I always remember at the end of the year how long it took us to begin publishing books in the first place. I think our first two books, Aesthetics 1 and In Defense of Purity, or no, Liturgy and Personality, took us something like 2 years to produce those two books, and then in 2019 alone, we've managed to produce 4. So we started the year with Aesthetics Volume 2. Wonderful to finally get those 2 volume set completed, and then the 2 ethical works later in the year, Graven Images, Substitutes for True Morality, and Morality and Situation Ethics, and then ended the year just recently with Beauty in the Light of the Redemption. We talked about this new pocketbook size. You know, if you can see the difference, it's much smaller, especially if you compare it to the Aesthetics. Yeah, same stuff. You can. Which one do you want to take with you?
Much more approachable.
But so that was very exciting to get 4 books in a year. We had a couple others that we're very close to. We'll talk about soon. But before we move on, I have to ask you all, what was your favorite?
Oh, Christopher, that's not a good question because they're all our favorites. They're like my children. I have to tell them I love them each with my whole heart. So I have to say that I am particularly partial to the cover of Graven Images because I find it to be a wonderful depiction. I think it's a Northern Renaissance depiction of the Tower of Babel, and just a beautiful color palette, very effective image. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't love the other covers as well.
Yeah, we can thank we should thank Mary Louise McGraw, for our cover designer, for coming up with that image and the beautiful layout. It really is excellent and striking.
What about you, Catherine?
I'm particularly partial to Beauty in the Light of the Redemption. I like the new design that we've started with the chapbooks, the new way that they're going. What is the name of the artist who did that cover?
Turner.
Turner.
These are all by the British painter Turner. We've got a couple more. We'll talk about them in a minute in that series. But yeah, I'm very happy with the way that these have come out. So this was, we wanted small, pocketable, light, easy to read, and I think these books have really done that. And if you only have one of our books, I'm sure everyone here has all of them. You really are missing out. They look so nice together. That's I love always when I can hold a stack of them. The design really sort of comes into its fullness when you have all of the books. I'm not just saying that so you'll buy all of them, but
they were designed as a series, right?
That's true. They were designed to do that. So the more we have, the more exciting it is to see them all together. So that's been wonderful. Thank you all for reading the books, buying the books.
And we should thank the benefactors who've helped us publish these books. And for those of you who are benefactors, you have received copies of these books or will be receiving copies. We always acknowledge our benefactors by name in the books. So those of you who have not been benefactors and you see these lists, those are lists of people who have made these books possible. They just wouldn't be possible without the support of our friends and supporters. So, and Christopher, thank you for great work in publishing this year. It's a huge undertaking. You said before that it took 2 years for the first 2 books, but that's not because it took 2 years for the first 2 books. It's because we had to create an entire infrastructure for running the Hildebrand Press, and that was your undertaking for all of those years. So thank you very much for that. Catherine, let's talk a little bit about our summer seminars. Your role when you first joined the project was to help coordinate these summer seminars. Now you're the academic programs manager, so eminent in your distinguished title. Tell us a little bit about our summer seminar this year.
Well, the summer seminars continue to be my baby in a certain sense. I love them dearly. They're my child in a certain sense. But we had our 9th annual seminar this year on virtue, where we started piloting the exclusively panel model, which we talked a little bit about on our newsletter a couple of months ago, where we gave like a rundown of everything that took place. But it was a fun year. The panel structure really worked well. It got everyone engaged. Everyone was excited. We had a good mix of participants. We ran through Virtue, starting with Plato and Aristotle, and worked our way all the way up to the moderns, and the impact of personalism and Hildebrand. So it was a good year.
Yeah. It was great. I love that panel format. I think that it really it introduced an element of conversation and dialogue into every topic that we considered. There was no, there's something to be said for a scholarly lecture, but there was something very lively about the structure. There were always at least two, if not three or four panelists per topic. So that I think worked very well, and I think we will continue to utilize that going forward. And then when something is going really well, not only do you try to continue it and grow it as we have with the summer seminar, but there comes a moment where you can sort of spin things off. And we've had 2 spin-offs this year from the summer seminar, such that the summer seminar can be really focused on being introductory to audiences of all levels. And we always say that if you're interested in the big questions, you can participate in the summer seminar. You don't have to be an academic of any certain level to come. But because we've always had people who want to study at a higher level, and we ourselves are interested in fostering this next generation of scholars who will promote the Hildebrand legacy, we've introduced 2 new formats. The one is our graduate residency, which we debuted this year. And that's a seminar for people who are writing a dissertation or a thesis or maybe a book chapter, and they want to present their work to peers, and they want to have the guidance of scholars who really know this tradition. And so we did this for the first time this year with 12 students. And one of the faculty of the seminar said afterwards that it was the best academic event the Hildebrand Project had ever done. And I think the reason for that is that it was so well tuned to meet the needs of a particular audience. It wasn't just a big conference for everyone. It was very focused on helping these students at a certain stage of development. And the other thing that we launched this year, which I'm very excited about, are our new colloquia. And colloquia for us just means conferences, small conferences where we invite people who don't necessarily know about a lot about the Hildebrand or even about personalism broadly. And the idea is that they're sort of working in a parallel tradition, right? They might be Thomistic scholars or people working on von Balthasar or Ratzinger or Wojtyła, and we have a theme in a book. This year we did the aesthetics, and so we had 14 participants, 4 scholars who wrote papers, 7 scholars who wrote papers, 7 respondents, and it led to a wonderful conversation. There was much more focused discussion at our colloquium, the first colloquium, than you get typically at a conference. At a conference, it's like a drive-by event. Sometimes you get a paper, you get a respondent, next session, and generally those are happening concurrently, and so there might be very few people present. At our colloquium, the whole group of 14 were together the whole time. And from the results as reported to us by our participants and from our perspective, I think we all went away thinking that this was really the way forward for the kind of conversation we want to foster. And we look forward to doing more of them next year. So that is a very inadequate rundown of everything we do. There is so much that happens behind the scenes, and we'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute. But we are the literary estate, so we're responsible for all of the copyrights, and Catherine is constantly fielding requests from foreign publishers. And we're kind of an information bank for many people who write in looking for information. So the many, many things that we do to advance the legacy of Dietrich von Hildebrand that are not, so to speak, front and center, they're happening all the time and aiding this community of people wanting to work on von Hildebrand. Let's talk about 2020. We have a big year ahead of us. Christopher, tell us a bit about our plans in publishing.
So we're going to kick off the year very strongly with a lot of publications, many of which we're working on now. Probably some of you are wondering about the ethics, which we were very much hoping to get out this year, but will come very early in 2020. We've been hard at work on it for a long time. We're literally down to the footnotes, and just a few footnotes remain. And I think sometimes people don't really know what goes into making these books. I mean, in some sense, you could just sort of, slap a cover on them and print them. But we really do everything we can to make them excellent. So we had to go track down. So Hildebrand will reference some. In this particular case, it was a quote from Augustine, and it's in the Latin, and it's published in some book that's been out of print for 50 years. So we have to go find the book, find the quote, which is of course not. There's no page number or anything. So you're going to different libraries and all this just for footnote. And then sometimes you go, okay, well, yeah, that footnote's correct. We can move on. Or sometimes you have
sometimes
to change
not,
it,
right?
Sometimes it's wildly incorrect even, and you have to figure out what did he mean. And there's usually an answer. Someone knows. Usually your father is the one who knows. But so that's the level of detail that we put into these books, which is why sometimes they do end up taking a little bit longer. We find surprises along the way, but that one is very much almost done, and so that'll come out right at the start of the year. We have two more chapbooks that we're going to release. The Personalism of John Paul II by Dr. Crosby, John F. Crosby. That's going to be our first book, not by Hildebrand. It's a wonderful book. We'll look forward to telling you all about it. And then a new edition of The Sign of Contradiction, Hildebrand's book on the encyclical Humanae Vitae. So those will all be in the short format. And then also in the first half of the year, we'll be releasing our new edition of What is Philosophy. So many of you have written in about this as well, asking when that's coming. So this one also has a great story to it. I'll let John Henry tell you a little bit about all of the detail that's gone into this new edition.
Well, just very briefly, and we can always do more as the books are released. But the book was written in English. Actually, the book was written in German. As what are, I guess, several chapters of what became What is Philosophy. And then Van Hildebrand came to the States and wrote What is Philosophy in English with the help of some colleagues. And then, that is to say, he wrote it and they helped him with his English. And then in the, I guess it would have been maybe in the late 60s, early 70s, a translation was made of the book into German. And Van Hildebrand, not anticipating the trouble he would cause for Christopher many, many years later, decided it was a good idea to add things to the German edition, not really considering that it made the English edition semi-outdated by the virtue of the small additions that he made. And so we worked together with Fritz Wenisch, Professor Wenisch, who was in fact involved in the German translation when it first came out. And so he did the great service of identifying and then translating the missing or the additional German that is missing from the English. And so our English edition will be the definitive English translation.
Yeah. So we start on these things. You get started on the book and you realize, oh no, like, do we have to do all this? You're like,
what did Dietrich do?
We really do have to do it. Otherwise, we can't really say we've produced a definitive edition. And so it's a lot of fun. We thank you for your patience, but also for your eagerness in the books. That really helps us keep going and track down all those footnotes. So that's all coming early in the year, and we'll have more later in the year to tell you about.
That's right. Catherine, we don't have our topic yet entirely. We have ideas for our 2020 summer seminar, but say a little bit about that and what's coming the way of our friends. We have our dates at least, don't we?
We do have our dates. We're doing the summer residency. We're going to bring it back for a second year, and that's going to be June 28th through July 3rd. So that's going to start off. That's the smaller conference that John Henry was telling us a little bit about that we piloted in 2019 for students that are writing papers. And then we're bringing back the annual seminar for its 10th year, and that is going to be on July 5th and run through July 9th. And we'll be announcing topics very soon and opening up the application process for those of you who have been waiting so patiently for that.
And are we doing something special for the 10th year?
There has to be something special.
I just assume.
Year. Yes, yeah. There will be.
Something surprising.
We're committing ourselves to something special here and now.
Okay. You don't know what. But
it will be wonderful. Yeah. No, we are keenly aware. Van Hildebrand was a great believer in the spirit of festivity, and so we can't possibly have a 10th annual summer seminar without some real festivity in what we do. And as Catherine says, we will do again the advanced seminar. The graduate residency, as we call it, and we'll also continue with these colloquia, these events which are essentially opportunities for people who are really interested in what we're doing, don't know a lot about it. But need an invitation and an excuse to devote the time to do some reading and write a paper and spend time with us. So our first colloquium, 2020, will be at the University of Dallas, actually, on the theme of emotion theory. And the idea there, just in brief, is that there's a lot of good work happening on the emotions in analytic philosophy, American English-speaking analytic philosophy. And Van Hildebrand has a tremendous amount to contribute on the heart, on affectivity. And so we want to get that conversation going between Van Hildebrand and the personalists and this very significant strand of American philosophy. So that comes up in February, but we'll have additional colloquia throughout the year, and we look forward to sharing the fruits of those with all of you. These are events where we invite scholars, but we want, even though they're not open to the public, to share the fruits of those events. And so we will be looking for ways to do that in 2020. Well, I suppose we should wrap it up here, but this is the moment where we ask for everyone's support for the work that the Hildebrand Project will do in 2020. There is simply no way that we can do what we do without the support of our benefactors. And though it is true that the project is blessed to have some benefactors who help us in a very large way, we would not exist without them. And so we thank them profoundly for their support, but we are also as dependent on the support of all of our benefactors, those who give even what they may think are gifts that are too small to make a difference. That is not true. Every gift makes a difference. Every gift encourages us, gives us the sense of your support and collaboration. We have, for the first time ever, begun in a serious way to build a monthly giving program. For some of you, that's an ideal way of supporting us, to be a sustaining benefactor, because that mode of support spreads your support out throughout the year. And I like to say that in some sense means that you're involved not just in the one thing that you support when you write that one check, but through your monthly gift, you're supporting us in an ongoing way, so that you're really involved in everything that we do. And so we invite your support. We invite you to consider that sort of support. But again, we ask for your prayers in a particular way for our success. It's a difficult and uphill battle to advance the kind of intellectual legacy that we have. We ask also for your support in introducing your friends to our books, buying them, giving them. Christmas, as Christopher loves to say, is the perfect time to be, now that we have small books, right, Christopher, we have stocking stuffers at last. And so we encourage you to do that. So I just I end our message here to you with just deep gratitude for your support, and on behalf of all of us, and for our trustees as well, and with a warm request for your continued support in 2020. And I want to thank my colleagues as well, Christopher, Catherine. It's been a wonderful year, and I look forward to another great year in 2020. Before we sign off, a final thought from either of you?
No, it's just always amazing, the end of the year, to think that so much has happened, that it really is a blessing that we get to do this. You think of all the wonderful people we meet throughout the year. We have so many great friends and colleagues and benefactors, and I'm very grateful for all of them. And so I look forward to seeing you all next year.
I'd just be repeating the things that both of you just said. I'm very grateful for both of you, and to be able to work with the project, and for all the wonderful people that we have met along the way as well. So,
indeed. Well, thanks to all of you, and Merry Christmas, God bless, and we'll see you in 2020.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.